Hello and welcome back to the Pokemon ONOG Invitational. I am your host this evening, Justin Karras, and I'm joined by 2016 World Champion and O2 drop in the tournament, Wolf Glick.
What is going on, guys? Justin, thank you so much for that intro. You know, I was just about to say that I would not rather be commentating with anybody else, but I unfortunately can no longer say that. But what is going on, guys? We have some amazing, some incredible matches today. And Justin, why don't we talk about what's happened so far in the tournament? Because as you mentioned, I'm out. I'm 0-2, and I'm last year's world champion, but that wasn't the only upset. We've had some amazing, amazing matches, and there's still the potential for a lot of really cool stuff. So what do you think? How do you feel about what happened yesterday?
Well, based on the opinions I got from a lot of people, you going 0-2 wasn't exactly an upset. So I've heard I had a lot of people try and talk to me about how much they had faith in Dan to actually do well. I mean, even you told me yourself you thought Dan was going to
do great. Knew. I called it.
But no, I'm just kidding. Obviously, it was crazy to see that happen. One thing I think was crazy was to see Dan not only beat you, but then take a win over Aaron as well. And going up to the match where we have Aaron versus Sajin, that's the way that the fact that that's the losers match to try and get forward in the tournament is crazy to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And so, guys, if you missed yesterday, that was, first of all, maybe a mistake, but we're so glad you're here with us now. This tournament started out with 8 players. 2 of them are now out. Myself and Alex Igloza, who's the 2014 national champion. 2 players have moved on into the top 4. That's Dan A-Drive Clap, who is known for his YouTube channel, but has proven that he's an amazing battler. And on the other side of in the other group, we have Anosh Shachar, who is a longtime VGC player, but is kind of always the bridesmaid, never the bride. He's never won a huge tournament before. And so both those players are into the top 4, which leaves 4 players in like fighting for their lives basically. With we have our first match today is going to be Aaron Cybertron Zhang, who is the 2013 third place, 2-time national champion, longtime VGC player, big name in VGC, up against Sajin Park. And actually, that's a really interesting matchup because both those players, I think, are kind of our 2 most inspirational players in terms of getting other players involved in the game, right? Like Aaron runs this big YouTube channel. He does amazing work. He really helps players learn the game. He makes it more accessible. He's very educational, and a very, very good player. And on the other side, we have Sajin, who is kind of symbolic of this idea that anybody can use like their favorite Pokemon and still win. Sajin obviously wins the 2014 Pokemon World Championships with Pachirisu. He caught 4 consecutive World Championships, which I believe is he's the only one to ever do that, getting second.
All-time record.
The all-time record, yeah. And so Sajin and Aaron actually played day 1. It was the first match we showed here, and we're returning to it again today. But Aaron took a set last time, 2 wins to 1 win. But now it's elimination on the line. Now this isn't just a drop into losers bracket. Now this is elimination. So that's a very exciting match. And on the other side of the bracket, we have Anosh Shachar has moved on, so it leaves Marcus Stadler, who's current 3rd in the world, 2-time national champion, very accomplished player. He was a commentator last season. He's a good friend of mine. And we also have him going up against Vieira, who's the 2015 world champion in a year where Japan dominated every other region. Vieira dominated even Japan. So Vieira was the best of this time, using an extremely unconventional team. So both these matches are for elimination, and they're really, really exciting. Justin, what do you think about this?
I do think it's great that Sajin has a chance to kind of try and get the edge over Aaron. We saw in the first match how difficult it was for him to overcome the positioning that Aaron had with his muck. And when we brought Sajin on stream to talk about the match, he explicitly outlined exactly where his matchup was difficult. So I wonder if he took the night himself to figure out exactly what he needs to do, because as we know, this is for prize money. So there is prize money on the line, and he is trying to advance into that pool and possibly, try and get a shot to face off against these the Group B side. So as we talked about, the matchup was interesting. I do like the fast mode that Sajin has on his team. He has that Tapu Lele and Faramosa, and because it's kind of frail on that side, on its defensive side, it isn't able to really stay on the field and get good positioning. It's just kind of like a one hit and get out of there type of Pokemon. Try and build momentum where it can. So, I mean, I really like the way that Aaron was playing yesterday. His positional game was really on point. And in the match against Dan was just, was really maintaining offensive pressure. But Aaron just kind of, had the Trick Room, the mode that he has, this Porygon 2, and was trying to really maintain his defensive advantages. And I don't really think that he struggled in his match against Dan. I just feel like it was, kind of maybe a matchup disadvantage just with the Gyarados that Dan had. So I do think Aaron has brought a lot into this matchup, is prepared definitely for Sajin. He's somebody that he actually has plenty of experience playing against. So, and once again, it's a rematch. So that's definitely going to make the way that each player plays very different.
Absolutely. I could not agree more. And again, this is a matchup where I think in theory, Aaron probably has a bit of an advantage thanks to the fact that Aaron, I think we saw Trick Room actually give Sajin a lot of trouble in the earlier set that we saw. But what's cool about Pokemon is that a matchup advantage or disadvantage doesn't necessarily mean that the player is going to win, and I mean, that's the case in a lot of competitive games. But Sajin was able to take a game over Aaron, and though Aaron adjusted game 3, Sajin now is aware of how Aaron adjusted, and maybe he's able to use these tools that he has like in a better way. So I don't know. Both these players are so strong and so scary to go up against that like you really can't predict what's going to happen.
Definitely not. And I think another thing is because Sajin had to play that the match against you where he had to expose a lot more of his team's tricks, I do feel like even though going in the match, Aaron had exposed more of his team since he had brought it to the Anaheim regionals, but now Sajin had to show a lot more of his tricks against you. So I feel like the information game is kind of on an even playing field at this point. Definitely feel like that'll be more even going into the matchup.
Yeah, absolutely. So really, it's the question is, did the players spend the night preparing? Do they feel confident in their team matchup? Do they know more or less like how much damage they're going to be doing? There's so many factors at play here, and I don't know. It's like so sometimes when you play Pokemon, it's like if you get an early game advantage, you can kind of just run away with it. But with players like these, in the matches that we've seen, it almost feels like how many Pokemon are left don't really matter. Like it doesn't always influence the end of the game. I can't tell you how many matches I saw yesterday where it was like, oh, like it's clear one of these players is going to win, and then it either was extremely close or the other player brought it back. So that's kind of just what you get when you get this like matches that are such high caliber, and we really could not ask for higher caliber play than from Sajin Park and Aaron Zhang. I don't know, they're both such incredible players. I'm really excited, and this is also kind of a cool situation because Sajin's team is very unconventional. He's got a Pokemon Gudra, which we almost never see, and he's also got some crazy sets: Agility, Weakness Policy, Metagross, like in addition to some other really interesting stuff. And Aaron, on the other hand, is using a team he brought to regionals. It's more or less pretty standard. I don't think he has that many tricks. So yeah, I don't know. I'm kind of curious to see whether the standard, kind of tried and true approach works for Aaron, or whether or not Sajin, with the information that he gained yesterday, with the experience against Aaron, if he's able to bring this one back.
Yeah, Sajin's playstyle is all about using very high board position tools that have great offensive pressure on the board. And once that board position is established and the offensive pressure is there, if he can utilize what he has, the tools he has to pick up the knockouts he needs, that's where he really thrives. We usually used to seeing Sajin kind of planning out the end game much more efficiently. But what I saw yesterday was where he lost his footing in the switching against Trick Room and stuff like that. If he wasn't able to maintain that offensive pressure, he wasn't able to plan an end game because he wasn't able to pick up the knockouts he needed before he had to start, adjusting for the last 2 that he needed to win the game. So that's definitely important to just how Sajin's going to be able to stop the Trick Room, how he's going to be able to prevent, Aaron from having his way, really.
Yes, and I could not agree more. And once again, guys, we'd like to take a second before we start to thank our sponsors, ONOG, One Nation of Gamers, without whom this wouldn't be possible, and of course, Geico Gaming. If you enjoy the performance that you're about to see before you, please make sure to let them know how grateful you are. And also, so if you're interested in getting a quote or just checking out more information about these sites, you can go to pokemon.onog.gg. And there's a link. Hopefully our chat can link it. But yeah, there's information there about getting a quote and other really cool information. You can read profiles with the players. So this tournament is kind of the first attempt for those of you who don't know. We've never really done something like this before in the Pokemon community, but so far it's been real. As a competitive player myself, I've just been blown away by the caliber of matches, and like the fact that I went 0-2. I'm out of this tournament despite being a player, and it's still I'm so excited to see what happens. I'm not really upset because it's almost like I just get to sit back and watch the show. So this is a really incredible opportunity, and we're so grateful for the opportunity to have this kind of a tournament. So thank you again to ONOG and to Geico Gaming.
Yeah, it's been great for them to be able to throw this for us. Getting back into exactly what's going on with these matches, as we said, we are doing the Seijin versus Aaron match first, but looking at the other side of the bracket, we do have the Shoma Honami, the Japanese champion, versus Marcus, your buddy, your pal.
My boy.
And the two people for the losers match there. We saw that they did have very unconventional teams. Shoma with the Magnezone, the Pheromosa, the Drift Blim, the Rain Dance Drift Blim, which was able to take out
Citrus Berry Gyarados.
Yeah. And the Citrus Berry Gyarados. I think that's actually a very interesting way to handle just how much stay power that Gyarados kind of needs. So that way it acts as a more versatile intimidator. If you're kind of switching it in and out. I definitely felt like it fit with his team, especially since he had the Rain Dance and the Drift Blim, which is, giving you the option to boost the waterfall from the Gyarados' damage. And I do like Marcus's team too. We had that Alolan Persian, something he's been very fond of in his recent games and his recent matches. And I do like his team structure. Opting just to go for, the simple, Arcanine, Tapu Fini structure that we've seen as of late. But, kind of giving himself an extra option against stuff like Celesteela by throwing a Tapu Koko into the mix and having the Cursed Snorlax, which is, very popular, something you use yourself, something you have experience with.
Yeah, a little bit.
That's a matchup I'm actually really excited for too. But this is just crazy that we have all these incredible competitors squaring off here, and that these aren't even the winners matches.
Yes, and just to jump back into Aaron versus Seijin, because I believe, guys, I know you can't wait for it, but give us a few more seconds. I think we're going to be starting pretty soon here. But what's really cool here is that with both of these players, it's been a little bit since they've had really big success. Aaron's top cut at least one regional, I think a couple regionals, but he hasn't gotten that title. And Seijin didn't even play VGC last season. He played TCG, right, Justin? I believe I'm correct in that.
Yeah, he did play TCG.
Yeah, and he didn't top cut Worlds 2015, obviously. So both these players are kind of like their big successes are 2 to 3 years back. And I think for both of them, they have to be feeling like with Pokemon, it's such a difficult game, and there's so many factors that go into being really good and being consistent. It's so difficult that sometimes it's a while before you have really big success again. And both these players, one of them is going to be eliminated, and I'm sure that neither of them wants to be eliminated in the group stage. And I feel like both of them kind of have something to prove. Like whenever you're kind of an old guy, you're an older player. You're from you've had your successes in the past. People always have a tendency to kind of write you off, and they're kind of like, oh, yeah, he was good back in the day, but it's a new year, it's 2017. Wake up, boys! But with both these players, I feel like they have to be hungry, and I think that they must be thinking that if they can just get past the great wall in front of them, that they have a pretty good chance of taking this tournament. If they win this match, they only have two more people in front of them to claim the title, $500, and the chance to be the first ever Pokemon ONOG VGC Invitational champion. So I don't know. I'm really interested to see. I almost feel like in this situation, it's not a question of who wants it more, but it's like, and a level it is, who has the guts to make those reads? Because especially from Seijin's end, Aaron kind of choked, he kind of just slowly claimed the game back from him in game 3 of the last time they played. And I feel like Seijin, if he wants to win this, he has to have the guts to go for some big attacks, to go for some big predictions. And I don't think he can let Aaron kind of just slowly take the match back. And Aaron has to figure out how to play safe and take it without losing to Seijin. Very offensive pressure. But here we go. We are jumping into the game, and I am honestly really excited. We see Gujar Metagross. Yes, let's go. Gujar Metagross from Seijin, while Aaron sends out Tapu Fini and Arcanine. So this is very familiar, Justin. Does this remind you of anything?
Well, see, as we saw in Game 3 from Aaron versus Seijin in yesterday's match, Aaron wanted to lead the Tapu Fini Arcanine to prevent the damage output from the Tapu Lele and Pheromosa that Seijin has. This is actually the lead that Seijin brought in Game 1 with the Metagross and the Gudra, which was, the strategy pretty much that he had prepared for exactly what Aaron led. So I actually do think Seijin ended up on the better end of the deal here with the Metagross and the Gudra, which I'm assuming is Assault Vest. We actually haven't seen the item yet.
Probably.
But because it's carrying the Bulldoze, as we saw yesterday, to possibly activate that Metagross's weakness policy. I do think that the Gudra is actually, in fact, Assault Vest, and that definitely makes that Tapu Fini have a harder time against it.
Yeah, I could not agree more. And this is kind of an interesting mind game where does Aaron predict the Bulldoze, or does he does he just attack? Because if Sajin had the opportunity to protect and bulldoze there, but he actually switches out, gets an Intimidate onto both these Pokemon. It will probably only matter on Aaron's Arcanine because that's the only physical attacker on Aaron's side of the field. And Aaron does protect his Arcanine, so let's see what Tapu Fini does. It also uses to protect. Aaron was afraid that Sajin would just go protect and bulldoze, lowering both of his Pokemon speed stats, ensuring that the Metagross would then be faster, and then the next turn, that would give Sajin the opportunity to go bulldoze and attack with the Metagross, and because that Metagross is holding a weakness policy, it would become an incredibly, incredibly dangerous threat. So Sajin kind of covers both his options there, where he doesn't go for the Bulldoze. He does have the option of doing it this turn, and now he's got his Arcanine in, weakening Aaron's Arcanine. But also, Justin, I have to feel like Aaron is such a safe switch into his Porygon too. Do you think he brings it in here?
I would like to predict that because he could. I think it's a very optimal time for him to get off a Trick Room.
Garchomp.
We're actually going to see Aaron bring in his Garchomp here, which will offer pretty great pressure against the Arcanine that Sajin just brought in. And as well, Sajin does actually go for the Wild Charge. They're getting off a huge amount of damage.
I'm not sure.
Not picking up the knockout there, but we do see a Muddy Water here from Aaron's Tapu Fini, which we do know isn't a Choice Specs variant, so it won't pick up the knockout here on the Arcanine. We'll activate that Super Citrus Berry. I'm pretty sure it's an Aguav. We will see it get 50% of its health back, and now this Goodra is in a position to go for the Sludge Bomb as it gets it off into the Tapu Fini, and it actually is enough to pick up the knockout. So Aaron just sacrifices Tapu Fini on that turn, and I think Sajin right now is just sitting pretty.
Okay, that was a very good turn in some respects for Sajin, but what you have to keep in mind here is that Sajin doesn't have any switch-ins to ground-type attacks except for Pheromosa, who isn't really a switch into a ground-type attack, and his Intimidator is currently on the field. And we know that Sajin does have Metagross in the back. So even though that was like a good turn for Sajin, that he got a KO, he got rid of one of the main threats on his opponent's side of the field, this Garchomp is a really, really threatening thing to go up against. I just don't see how Sajin is going to get rid of it.
Yeah, I think what's actually more important now is that basically Aaron has his Muck here in for free, which is probably one of the most threatening things to Sajin's team. And when we talked with Aaron yesterday, he talked about how you needed to get his Muck in and, not activate its Figgy Berry. He wants it to come in at full health, be able to put on the pressure that it needs to. It is able to go for the knockoff into stuff like the Goodra. But we are going to see the Z move here, which will be that Tectonic Rage from that Garchomp. And Sajin trying to go for a read there, leaving his Arcanine there, no Protect, as we didn't see the animation for it. And that Tectonic Rage will definitely pick up the knockout onto...
no, it's Goodra. I think it might still
pick up.
I think it could survive. Goodra, it depends on how Sajin is trained as Goodra, but let's find out. Goodra's health is dropping. Oh my gosh, that's an enormous amount of damage. Goodra is relatively bulky, so I'm actually really surprised that KO'd, and all of a sudden, Aaron is in a really commanding position. But of course, Sajin does still have one Pokemon in the back. Sajin might lose both his Pokemon this turn. Let's see what Aaron went for. 50% Berry, healing up that Muck. I think it might be Figgy, but I'm not sure. I can't actually see. You'll never know. Poison Jab coming up. I think that might be it, Justin. I think that might be the end of the Arcanine. Yeah.
The Arcanine is actually going to go down there. Now, as I was saying, I did think it would pick up the knockout in either one of the Pokemon it went into because Tectonic Rage, Aaron actually has an Adamant Garchomp, which just gives you that extra edge you need to pick up specific knockouts into stuff like Gastrodon, Goodra, Milotic. Just if you chip it a little bit, you can get that, extra damage. We are going to see the double knockout there, which means that, it's kind of a trade. Sajin got the first knockout and, sacrificed a lot of his HP on his Arcanine to get that damage down into the Tapu Fini, but then he gave Aaron excellent positioning. And, what can he really even do against this Muck? It's, even a Moonblast and a Meteor Mash isn't going to be enough to actually knock it out.
That's correct. Yeah, and so Psychic Terrain will be boosting the power of all Psychic type attacks, but even though Muck is part Poison type, it's also part Dark type, which means that Muck is immune to the Psychic type attacks, and guess what? Both the Pokemon in front of the Muck are Psychic type. So I think if you're Aaron, you have to be feeling pretty good about this position, but you're not out of the woods yet. If you go for an Earthquake, you will activate that Metagross's weakness policy, which will double its attack, and same with the Knockoff. A Knockoff will actually activate the weakness policy without removing it. So Sajin still some tools here. Depends on, I don't actually remember what his Tapu Lele build is, but it's actually, it's Psychium Z, that's correct. So Tapu Lele goes for Protect here. Let's see what the Muck does. Let's see what the Metagross does. Poison Jab comes into Tapu Lele. What does Sajin do? Does he capitalize on this? Agility Metagross coming out. So all of a sudden, this Metagross says, it's time to go fast.
It's time to go fast. Speed Racer.
Speed Racer on the field. Metagross's 4 legs are moving at the speed of light. It's one of those creepy spiders that, you see it and then it's all over the place and it's gone. That's Metagross right now. And Sajin, he's in a better position, but, he's still, Aaron can just safely double into his Tapu Lele, and I don't see how Sajin's going to stop it.
We have to see precisely how much damage this Psychic Surge boosted Zen Headbutt does into that Garchomp, because now that it's faster, we could possibly see a knockout. that also does have the potential to flinch with a 30% chance there. So that might play into how the damage roll. And basically what we're working for is, can I keep the Muck from attacking? As the Garchomp actually gets the Poison Jab off into the Tapu Lele. Not enough to pick up the knockout, but we do see the Moonblast from Tapu Lele going into the Muck, trying to pick up the knockout here. Definitely not enough. Muck does get the special attack drop, shrugs it off because it doesn't use the special attack stat. We haven't seen Flamethrower from it. And the second Poison Jab does pick up the knockout into the Tapu Lele. Metagross, not really enough, in my opinion, to just, sweep the rest of Aaron's team. So I do think we will see game 2 here with an Aaron with a 1-0 lead.
Yeah, I think Sage still has a small chance because of that weakness policy, depending on how the rest of this game plays out. But Aaron probably has some safe moves that he can make and not have to risk it. But the fact that Garchomp's only really viable attack here is Earthquake, and combined with Zenheadbutt's ability to flinch, I don't know. Maybe there's a chance you can bring this back, depending on how much knockoff does. But it's definitely looking tough for Stagion. I actually think I would have preferred to see Tapu Lele go for a Psyche MZ into the Garchomp there, because if he'd knocked out Garchomp and gotten an attack boost with Metagross, thanks to the Psychic Terrain, is that +1 Zenheadbutt might have been able to pick up the KO on that Arcanine. So both of Aaron's Pokemon protecting here, actually trying to scout for a protect, I think, from Stagion's end, and Stagion actually goes for a forfeit. I don't know why. I think he has a chance to win. I'm not sure if I agree with that. Because Aaron can
basically what he needs to do, well, just because the 100% accurate moves, basically what he could do is, he might not be forfeiting right now.
Yeah.
The knockoff wouldn't get the knockout here. But he'd have to be able to pick up a knockout and 2 things at the same time. That's the problem, because he has Arcanine in the back. It'll come right in. It'll get the Flare Blitz off.
Yes.
And so he has the second knockoff opportunity. So he doesn't really need to worry about the Garchomp. If he does try and go for the Earthquake if he does try and go for the Muck here, then he does just Earthquake into the Metagross and he'll win the game. So
actually, Stagion I think this is the correct call here. So Stagion goes for a Meteor Mash here, hoping that Aaron is predicting a Protect and won't be using Earthquake. Garchomp goes for a Fire Fang. Aaron, no!
All right, so you're talking about that one window of opportunity that he had.
Oh my God!
And then he gets a burn, pretty much to save himself.
Wow. Okay, so Stagion probably was over, right? Because I think that Fire Fang plus Adamant Earthquake would probably pick up the KO here, but Stagion might have had a small chance with Fire Fang proccing that weakness policy, doubling Metagross's physical attack, and with the +2 speed, and the fact that Clear Body cannot be intimidated. There might have actually been a chance for Metagross to bring this one back. A small chance maybe, but definitely a chance. But unfortunately, thanks to that burn, there is no more chances left in Stagion's book. So he's probably going to forfeit this game, and Aaron will be taking game 1 and will be 1 game away from moving on into the top 4 of this tournament.
Dude, whenever I get a burn or any type of paralysis or any type of, additional effect, it kind of bugs me because I've gotten so used to using Tapu Fini. Just because so many players are using Misty Surge now, which does remove those extra status effects, it's like you spoiled. You're not used to it anymore. So
that's
that
exactly
burn
right.
just popping out there was just kind of just like, oh man, I didn't expect that. I actually that Psychic Surge was up.
I had the same reaction. I looked at the screen, I saw that there was a terrain on the field. And if you guys aren't aware, there are 4 Tapu Pokemon, and each of them has a different surge ability, activating a different kind of terrain. And Tapu Fini, which is extremely popular right now, we saw Aaron using it. It's part of the effect of its terrain is that it prevents any Pokemon on the ground from being affected by status conditions. So when we saw that Fire Fang, both Justin and I were a little confused. We were like, how did this burn? I thought Misty Terrain was up.
Yeah.
No, it was actually Psychic Terrain. So,
not to mention Psychic Terrain and Misty Terrain have the closest color palette. So
it's not fair.
All right, I know it's so hard. You have to remember all these colors as a VGC player. It's a good thing Silvally isn't more popular. That's what I'd like to say.
That is exactly true. Silvally, a Pokemon that changes its type based on the item it's holding, and you can tell by looking at it, but it's really difficult. VGC players not known for their ability to tell colors apart. But back to the match, Justin. What just happened? Please tell me. What do you think Stagion has to do to win game 2? And how are you feeling if you're Aaron Cybertron saying is number 1?
I told you, I really feel like the positioning thing is important. He didn't bring his Pheromosa, and his Pheromosa is kind of like that one-shot cannon. It's got to get a knockout on something. He can use it for the Muck. He can use it for the Porygon 2 or the Gigalith. Even possibly the Garchomp if it carries Ice Beam, which some of them do. Mm-hmm. I do think that it's very hard for him to get into a position where he can use the Pheromosa, which is why he's been reluctant to bring it in so many of the games that they've played. I do really think that as I said, it's important to bring it. I don't know if he can lead it. He might want to save it for the late game, but I think Aaron just sticks to his guns, leads Tapu Fini and Arcanine. We didn't see the Porygon 2 that game, but just getting the Muck in efficiently, very important. and kind of just, not wasting your Z move. He fired off the Tectonic Rage, got a key knockout with it, and was still able to threaten Sajin's team with the rest of his, with Earthquake and stuff like that. So,
oh my gosh, so Sajin actually switches up and brings Ninetales and Metagross this game, which is really, really interesting.
Ninetales.
Yeah, Ninetales as Aaron goes for, again, Arcanine and Tapu Fini on his side of the field. But I don't know. Okay, I just feel like if you're Aaron, you have so many more options. Like you mentioned, Aaron didn't even bring Porygon 2 that last game. And it was like, that was like a big, as I recall, it was like a pretty big factor in how he was able to win in the early games. And actually, when I first saw this lead, I was thinking, ooh, Sajin, come on, man. Like, what are you doing? But actually, when I played against Sajin, what I found super threatening was the combination of Aurora Veil plus Weakness Policy Metagross, where if you attacked Metagross and you wanted to attack Metagross because it kept attacking you, you would activate its Weakness Policy, and if you didn't attack it, it would do so much damage. And Aurora Veil reducing the damage, reducing the bulk, or reducing your ability to do damage on Metagross, I think is a really, really interesting combination. Actually, really scary to play against. So, if Aaron is Gigalith in the back, he's got to be feeling really good, but I honestly think he might not have brought it. He probably wants Muck and either Porygon 2 or Garchomp, I think.
Well, what's really interesting here is that Aaron has his Arcanine on the field, threatening both Ninetales and Metagross, and Sajin doesn't exactly have a great switch into that Metagross outside of his own Arcanine.
Yes.
And even utilizing the Aurora Veil and the Weakness Policy here, if Aaron were to go for a Flare Blitz and a Muddy Water, that
goes for a Flare Blitz.
That Metagross isn't exactly, thankful for that combination. So the Flare Blitz will do plenty of damage, activate that Weakness Policy on that Metagross. If it is able to fire off an attack here, that could be huge. Maybe possibly pick up a knockout into that Arcanine. Maybe even the Tapu Fini. We'll see. The Arcanine losing a little bit of Life Orb recoil, but the Tapu Fini does go for the Muddy Water, and it connects on both Pokemon. So it will break the Ninetales Focus Sash, and it will definitely pick up the knockout.
No, absolutely not. Sajin's shaking his head. He knows that was a very, very, very bad turn.
Aaron knows exactly what he needed to do there, that was such a good turn.
Aaron's not smiling, but I assure you, Aaron is smiling on the inside. He's got to be happy with how that went. He lost almost nothing. In return, he gained a critical KO. He gave up he lost some health on his Arcanine, but really, that's really, really big. Sajin's Metagross is one of the main sources of damage output, and Tapu Lele comes in here, but Aaron has a safe switch, like such a safe switch into his Muck, and with Muck having essentially in this matchup like 150% HP. I don't know, Justin. I think it's looking pretty tough if you're Sajin. You cannot be feeling good right now.
Yeah, this is definitely like the rock wall without the people holding the ropes to help you up it for Sajin here. But I do feel like it's essential here is for him to pick up a knockout with the Shattered Psyche into the Pokemon that isn't switching into Muck and the Pokemon that's not protecting. We've seen many situations where Sajin has, fired the trigger there and it's gone into either protect or into the immunity. So he really needs to make the most of it. He might want to just opt for a Psychic. I do think that Arcanine is within range. Tapu Fini is within range of a Freeze Dry and a Psychic KO. We did actually see Icy Wind from Sajin's Ninetales the other day, which means that I'm not inclined to believe that it does actually carry Freeze Dry. That might actually influence the way that Aaron plays this.
This should be Muck. So I think this is switching to Muck and protect Arcanine. So if Sajin is able to Moonblast and Blizzard here, I think that was the play he needed to make. So he goes for a Blizzard. I agree with that a lot. Let's see if he's able to pick up a Freeze and how much damage this does. Does a good chunk. Let's see. Any freezes? No freezes. Lele goes for Moonblast. So he does correctly predict that the Muck is coming in. Could that put Sajin back in this game? He's done a good chunk of damage, Justin. I mean, that's not bad damage at all. And let's see what Arcanine is here.
Well, the thing is that the Aurora Veil is up, so even if the Arcanine were to Flare Blitz into the Tapu Lele, it's going to survive thanks to that boosted defense. But the Ninetales is going to take that super effective damage, and now it is a 4-2 matchup. Aaron has all the momentum. The Arcanine taking the Flare Blitz recoil and the Life Orb recoil, so it actually is going down to that.
3-2.
That's definitely an interesting way to pick up a knockout. That's just, the Ninetales saying, come with me, buddy.
Yeah.
That's the form of
taking you with me.
The Ninetales Destiny Bond.
Yeah, the Ninetales Destiny Bond.
I like that. Basically, the damage, getting rid of the berry on the Muck was very crucial there. And getting Arcanine back in here is great. Now that Arcanine is off the field and is not in play anymore for Aaron, I feel like Sajin has a lot more comfort with his own Arcanine and can really start trying to just go for more aggressive knockouts. And it's really going to come down to if Aaron can, get the damage he needs with Muddy Waters. But I feel like that Aurora Veil is definitely going to influence that.
So here's the situation. I think that Sajin can pick up a KO by doubling into whatever he wants. And that Muck is -1 attack. And also also has used its berry before. But I think by the way that Aaron is playing, Justin, I think there's a pretty good chance that he has Garchomp in the back. I think that's why he's so aggressively targeted down that Ninetales, meaning that all Aaron has to do is put a little bit of damage on this Tapu Lele and put it in Tectonic Rage range. Yes. And then this game might be close to over. So I think even if you're Aaron, even though your positioning might not be your positioning is okay with these two Pokemon, but if you have Garchomp in the back, you have to be feeling pretty good here. Sajin might be able to bring this back with some good plays, though. If he goes like protect Flare Blitz and then Tapu Fini protects itself. Do you think he called this?
This is definitely the I think the entire match would hinge on that. But now that there's a double protect, we are seeing Aaron possibly just trying to burn off that the Shattered Psyche.
Yeah.
Him not wasting his Z move there is really important because, as you said, there is possibly a Garchomp in the back. And we knowing that it's an adamant Garchomp, it might be incredibly bulky and possibly able to tank a Moonblast. So I do think it's important for Aaron to get off a Shattered Psyche into the Tapu Fini here, get it off the field so he isn't taking Muddy Water damage. But I mean, his Tapu Lele is still very threatened. And as you said, if Aaron does have that Garchomp in the back, even putting everything just into Earthquake range could be really detrimental.
Yes. This is okay. When you saw that last turn, you might have just seen it and thought, that was kind of boring. Nothing happened. But I actually really like that play from Aaron because he either burns the Z move, but the other thing he had the option of burning the Z move from Tapu Lele. But the other thing that was in play there was that Sajin has a very limited timer of Aurora Veil. And once Aurora Veil goes down, Garchomp can pick up the KO on Tapu Lele with Tectonic Rage if he has it. And I don't know, just the knowledge that you could all you need to do is stall out your turn to Aurora Veil, and
we're gonna see the Shattered Psyche.
He's doing the dance. He's doing
going
the dance.
for it.
He did a good job too. If I were a judge, I would definitely give that at least a 7.8 out of 10.
Only 7.8. I don't think you can do anything you can't do decimals.
Yeah, I can't do decimals. Sorry, no. But let's see if Shattered Psyche can do enough decimals to pick up the damage on Tapu Fini. And with a critical hit, it might pick up the KO, but without it, I don't think it's going to get it. That doesn't look like critical hit damage to me. It's unfortunate for Sajin. I think there's a chance.
Probably doubled into the Tapu Fini, though. No, actually, he went for the Flare Blitz right into the muck.
Yeah.
Wasn't able to pick up the knockout, and things are looking pretty bleak here. Yeah. Tapu Fini going to get the Moonblast off into the Tapu Lele, as we talked about, just trying to set up the damage that it needs to for the possible Garchomp in the back. And the Poison Jab is not going to live with the... it actually is able to live because of the Intimidate and Aurora Veil. Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yes.
Good assist. Basically, as you said, it's just about setting up the end game. He has one full health Pokemon in the back that can pretty much clean up this game. But I do like that Sajin has, tried to, handle what he has on the field and just get the damage that he can because, that's very important in this matchup.
Yes, I think Sajin could have gone Protect Flare Blitz that last turn, but hindsight, of course, is 2020. And he still would have been in a situation where he really needed to keep his Tapu Lele healthy. And, this isn't necessarily over because there is a chance that Aaron has chosen to bring Porygon 2 as his fourth Pokemon. And in that scenario, we knew that Tapu Lele has Taunt, and maybe with Sajin still having 50% health recovery on his Arcanine, there is a chance that he could bring this back, but all Aaron needs is Garchomp in the back, and this game should be over. So Tapu Fini just goes for Protect here. Let's see if I don't expect to Protect from Muck. Arcanine goes for an Extreme Speed into Muck. It should pick up the KO unless something crazy happens. Muck is down, so
good play on Sajin's end.
Yeah, good play on Sajin's end, not taking any recoil damage there. Moonblast coming out into Tapu Fini. Hail should end, yeah, so Tapu Fini gets a turn of Leftovers recovery. I don't know, Justin. I don't know. Let's see what Aaron's – it all comes down. Aaron's nodding his head. It all comes down to what is he going to bring it back. Aurora Veil is gone.
If it's Garchomp,
this is not looking good for Aaron.
If it's Garchomp, it is Garchomp.
No. Sajin nodding.
Man. That's that bad dream you just keep having. Yeah. You don't want to keep having that Garchomp staring down an Arcanine and a very weakened Tapu Lele.
Yes.
I don't think that, as you said, this could be – it is up to Sajin to try and capitalize on a misplay from Aaron.
Yeah.
But, just protecting the Tapu Fini and getting off an Earthquake. If it's faster than both of these Pokemon, Aurora Veil is gone. There's no Intimidates in the field. So Arcanine going to get an Extreme Speed off here into the Garchomp. Possibly hoping for just a super crit where it would just, take out the Garchomp. But that doesn't happen in this game. It's only 1.5. This isn't Gen 5 nor. So we're going to see the Tectonic Rage come out from the Garchomp here into the Arcanine, most likely. I don't think you would need to overkill the Tapu Lele. Tapu Lele has already taken enough damage. It's already damaged enough. Already been hurt. Tectonic Rage, a very powerful high base power move. Single strike. It is going into the Tapu Lele.
Yeah.
That's such overkill. That's rude.
No, it's because here's the thing. So you might think he could have just Poison Jab, but that was actually well played by Aaron because even if Sajin protected, he still would guarantee the KO in that situation. I think that's why he chose to use to use Tectonic Rage there is because like Aaron played this game so incredibly well. He managed all of his resources perfectly. He was able to effectively deal with like what was in front of him. He kept in mind what was in the back. I'm really, really impressed by Aaron. Sajin holding up Pachirisu. Oh, Sajin, we're so sorry, Pachirisu. But still an amazing showing by Sajin. Really, really cool team. You know, sometimes you bring unconventional stuff. Sometimes it works. Sometimes it doesn't. But really great show by both of those players. I really, really, really am impressed. I feel like when Aaron is playing on his game, he's so scary. Like he's when Aaron knows what he's like. When Aaron is like focused and like has control of the game, like you're not getting out. You know, Aaron played
that's 100%
so
true.
well.
He also had a kind of a matchup advantage, and just when talking about the muck and leading Tapu Fini Arcanine, getting Intimidate down on the most threatening parts of Sajin's team. What we saw really crucial in the second match was the second game specifically was the Flare Blitz and Muddy Water knockout into the Metagross, which was possibly the most threatening physical attacker on his team.
Yeah. Not to mention the fact that so what's cool there is that Aaron's choice of Life Orb on his Arcanine actually guaranteed the KO with any other item other than Choice Band that would not have KO'd, I don't think, because thanks to Aurora Veil's increase in bulk. But yeah, thanks to that weakness policy activating, if Muddy Water had missed or if like Sajin's Metagross had been a little faster, Sajin's Metagross actually had sped my Tapu Fini, so it's obviously fast enough to outspeed some Tapu Fini. That would have definitely changed the matchup. I think getting even ones that headbutt off and picking up a KO early on would have been really good. And actually, even though it didn't work out for him, I really do agree with Sajin bringing the Ninetales game too. I think that was a really good awareness because Ninetales is one of his best answers to Garchomp. As we mentioned, he doesn't really have solid switch into the ground type attacks. So because of that, I do think Ninetales was a really, really good adjustment. It just unfortunately didn't work out for him. But guys, amazing showing by Sajin. Please press one for Sajin. For Sajin, yeah. If you should to show respect for Sajin for an amazing.
This is what happens in a format without Pachirisu. We were talking earlier about how Pachirisu would actually be good in this.
He'd be so good. Tapu Koko, nope.
Redirection is just very important
so
in VGC, and we have a very big lack of it in this format. Like we're kind of limited to Smeargle and Clefairy, and just the few Lightning Rod users that we have that all stink. Togedemaru, Marowak, they're both terrible Pokemon. I'm just kidding. They're actually decent. Togedemaru is actually pretty good. I'm sure you know all about the wrath of Togedemaru.
I don't want to talk about it.
All right, we'll keep that on the side. But
thank you.
Basically, just that matchup was very well played by Aaron. As you talked about, he's a very scary competitor when he is on top of his game, and I think he went into that with a matchup advantage. He utilized his muck perfectly, and he kind of got the Tapu Lele in a situation where his best physical threat and one of his fastest, his Garchomp, came in right at the end, was able to get the Tectonic Rage off, and just that's exactly what he needed to do.
Yeah, so really, really well played game by both players. I think we're going to a quick break before an interview with Aaron, but I'm not sure about that. Yeah, actually, guys, I think that's exactly what we're doing. I've decided I am the captain now, so we're going to cut to a quick break. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll be back in a second with an interview with Aaron Cybertron Zhang here.
Hello and welcome back to the ONOG Pokemon Invitational presented by Geico. I'm your host, Justin Karras. This is my co-caster, Wolf Glick, and we are now joined by our winner of that first match between Aaron and Sagen, Aaron himself. You can say hi, Aaron. There you go. I'm just wanting to know, going into a match with, your friend and former 2014 world champion, even though you had the matchup in your favor, were you a little bit scared?
Yeah, definitely. I think if there's anything that I've learned from this season, it's that just having a good matchup doesn't mean anything if you don't play well. I got knocked out of top 16 at Anaheim Regionals, and I felt like I had a pretty good matchup, but my opponent honestly just prepared better than me and played better than me on game day. And so that was kind of a realization call that no matter how good a matchup is, even especially in this format, you still really need to play well. So I was really scared because I was like, Sajan's probably going to try to think of something, but I felt like I thought of all the possible combinations you could bring, for example, as a lead and as a team comp. And I felt like my Pokemon just had the sheer advantage over his, regardless of which 6 he'd end up bringing or which 4 of the 6, I'd have a really good chance. So game 1 worked out really how I wanted it to. And then the second game, I made a kind of a prediction, hoping he wouldn't protect Metagross turn 1. He didn't. And then I just doubled up into it to get that knockout. And I feel like that really just set a lot of momentum because then I had all the free opportunities to switch. I was able to stall out the Aurora Veil, and then Garchomp was able to just come in and clean out the game.
Yeah, no, that was definitely very well played. Now, this is the second iteration of this team that we've seen. What led you to end up changing Ninetales for Gigalith?
Yeah, it wasn't anything. It wasn't like Ninetales was bad by any means because the original team was actually kind of built around Ninetales and Aurora Veil. But one of the issues that I had with the original team was struggling against Trick Room, especially Pokemon like Araquanid and Magnezone. And hilariously enough, I was like, okay, if I use Gigalith, if I play against Gavin or any Gavin teams, I'll have a decent matchup. I still lost to Gavin at regionals, but
oh, no.
It was definitely a very winnable matchup. And without Gigalith, I don't think it would have been. So I was a little bit sad that I didn't meet Gavin in the finals of Anaheim, but I got a lot of experience from that, and I think Gigalith is a really strong Pokemon because Trick Room is all about utilizing your full 4 turns of Trick Room as much as possible, and with Gigalith you have a spread attack and stab Rock Slide. Does a lot of damage to anything that doesn't resist it. So if you're able to get it in and get full 4 turns of Trick Room, you can continuously spam Rock Slide. The pressure of the Z-move is really strong as well. So I'm not sure whether I like Ninetales or Gigalith more, but they're both really strong.
Yeah, Aaron, I have to ask. So in the last round of day 1 when you guys played, it seemed like Porygon 2 was a really valuable asset in that matchup. So
yeah.
What's interesting to me is that you chose not to bring it, and it seemed like such a good call. What was going through your mind when you decided to bring Porygon, to not bring Porygon 2 this time, despite how well it did last time?
Yeah, I think if you look at the nature of Sajan's team, it's very offensive, and so you can two-shot pretty much anything on the team. The Porygon 2 is the one Pokemon I have that can't do too much damage because it's not going to get the download special attack increase most of the times, and it also, he doesn't have a Garchomp, which I can hit for super effective with Ice Beam. So my main means is using Tri-Attack, and my biggest issue yesterday was that I was really scared of Metagross because I think Metagross is probably the one Pokemon that gives me a lot of trouble, despite me having Arcanine, Feeny, and Garchomp, because it does have agility and it does have a weakness policy, and I don't have that many ways to one-shot it, especially because knockoff actually activates weakness policy. So yesterday I felt like the games that I did bring Porygon, sure, Trick Room gives Sajan's team some trouble, but at the same time, once you get Trick Room up, Porygon's just kind of sitting there, and if Sajan brings Pheromosa, then it's really, really scary. Whereas by bringing 4 Pokemon that are all super offensive, all of my Pokemon had ways to hit his team for super effective. They all had ways, there was multiple priority with Arcanine and Muk, and so I felt more comfortable. It's weird because I normally almost always bring Porygon with this team, but against Sajan's team, I felt like Trick Room, I don't need it because I already have Pokemon that actually naturally outspeed him, like Garchomp outspeeding Metagross, Lele. That made things a lot more comfortable as well, and my Feeny was faster than his Metagross as well. So I figured, I'd rather sacrifice something let's use more as a defensive tool to get some more offense of the team, and I think it paid off.
I think that shows really incredible awareness by you, and I really have to commend you for your play. My last question is, going forward, you have a best of 5 against Enosh Shachar. How do you feel about this? You're probably going to be the first ever VGC best of 5 in a serious tournament, if not the second. So Enosh obviously is a really scary player. How do you feel? How do you feel going into this matchup? Have you thought about it at all, or were you just focused on Sajan yesterday?
I haven't thought about it at all, honestly, because at Anaheim, honestly, I was thinking a little bit more further on in the bracket, but none of that matters if you lose on in the first round of Top Cut, for example. So my goal was to just make it through here. I obviously watched what Enosh was using. His team is really cool. Like, I really like it. I think it's going to be a very long and drawn out set, hopefully. But Enosh is a really cool player. He's one of my favorite players. And I think the last time we played seriously was at regionals back in right after Worlds in 2013, and I barely made the top 4 that year. So I hope I can stop him again, but he's a really good player. His team, I think, is really good. And I don't know, at this point, he might be the favorite to win the event, but I'm really excited to try to give it my all and challenge him for that spot in the finals, because I really love it to win this whole tournament.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us, Aaron, for the interview. Congratulations on moving on into the next round, and good luck in the rest of the tournament. Once again, I'd just like to, before we go to break here, thank our sponsor, Guidecode Gaming. Please go check them out at Twitter. They're the people that provided pretty much the entirety of this prize support, and this whole tournament was thanks to them. Just give them a shout out. Tell them that you have enjoyed the matches, have enjoyed what's going on with Pokemon, and just love all the competitors and everything that's been going on in this scene. So we're very thankful to them, and we're about to go to break now. So thank you, and we'll be back.